Hello, Medipreneurs. Now we're going to have the opportunity to talk with Cory Carlson. And we were just talking to him prior to this interview about how thrilled we are that he agreed to join us this year. He's going to be talking about the prioritized Medipreneur, how to increase your self-awareness and your impact as a leader. Cory, can you tell us some more about the workshop that you're planning for Saturday afternoon?
Yes. Well, thank you both very much for the opportunity to speak with your group. Excited about it. The workshop I'll be doing is really just sharing some frameworks that have been significant in my own life, as well as those that I lead either from when I was in my corporate role to now as a coach, a speaker. And really both of them are to help us prioritize our own life in a way. And the first way to do is understand who we are. So we'll be opening up our workshop using the Enneagram, which is a very popular self-assessment test right now. And the reason it's gained momentum is because unlike the other ones that are out there, this shows who you are at work as well at home. Where a Myers-Briggs or a DISC, even when you take, I'm DISC certified, so I can do the DISC. I just would prefer the Enneagram because the DISC is often, what hat are you wearing? Were you thinking of this in your work environment? Where Enneagram, you show up really the same place at home as you do work. And so I think not only will the pharmacists come away with something as their day job, but also as their parenting and in their marriages, which it has significance because as the whole self is, they can lead better during their day-to-day. And then the other reason I'm a fan of the Enneagram is it talks about your healthy and unhealthy version. So there's 9 types in the Enneagram. All 9 are awesome when they're healthy. All 9 are awful when they're unhealthy. And so to understand, hey, how do you come to your relationships, healthy or unhealthy? And what are those watch outs? And so to educate everyone in that room of, hey, this is kind of your watch outs. And so you need to get in better mental health to move forward. And then we will help us get healthy, use a framework called the 5 capitals. And these 5 capitals are a framework that I learned probably about 8 years ago. And it's been significant in my life to the point I actually left corporate to share this with other people. And so I'm excited to share these 2 tools with everyone at the conference.
And you've written a book about this as well. Hope that there will be some books available for those that want to learn even more.
Yes. Thank you. The book is called Win Home First. And I did write it. It was published this summer. A guy at Forbes said it's a top 7 book all teams should read, which I thought that was pretty fun for him to say.
Fabulous.
But, you know, the reason I wrote it is I work with executives in all different industries. And we'll talk about vision and values for their life, for their company, how do you improve culture. But when we're on these one-on-one calls, what almost everyone was actually really worried about with keeping them up at night is, how am I more intentional with my spouse? How am I more engaged with my teenage daughter? How do I drink less? How do I eat less? I mean, that's actually what was on people's mind when it kind of came to it. So I found myself saying, hey, we're going to work on vision and values for your company. We'll help you figure out the go forward. But before we do that, we have to win at home first, so we have capacity to lead well at work, so we can be empathetic with our clients, with our patients, with our coworkers, whatever it may be. And so I took my testimony, mixed it with some client stories, mixed it with some of the frameworks we'll share at this workshop to come up with a book. So it's been a wild journey.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So question or a statement, I guess. We, like many professions, it's a hard road, hard climb to become a pharmacist. And a number of the people that have attended Medipreneurs and talked to us about Medipreneurs are looking for options that allow them to win at home and not be so tied to very, very long days in a pharmacy. So I think you're speaking to the right audience. I'm trying to think about how I want to ask this question. For people that are struggling with that, will you be able to talk to them about you don't want to jump from the fire into the frying pan. Is that the word? Can you talk to them a little bit about leaving what feels like a very rigid, doesn't give you any time position into creating a business or opportunity, being mindful of not letting it consume you as much as the other job did? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And I will address it for sure in the 90, in our workshop and talk about it. A big piece of what that could look like is the identity, not tying your identity to your job, to the success of it or the failure of it. That's part of my own story. You mentioned being a pharmacist. I'm a civil engineer by degree. Mm-hmm. And so some of that same grind that we were talking about before this call that the pharmacist has, I experienced as well as an engineer. But so part of my journey has been, unfortunately, the good and bad of tying my identity to my success, tying my identity to the amount of money I made, to my job title, to did I get the corner office. So all these different pieces, and unfortunately, I've got shrapnel because of that journey. I think that was a big piece is breaking free of my identity is not in the job. So we will address those pieces.
Good.
During the workshop, absolutely. And then talk about ways to start to pivot into other ways. And what does that look like if you worked all day and you've been on your feet all day? Now you got to go home to kids or to a spouse. And how does that environment? So during that, we'll be able to share some of the tips and things that I've seen to work in my own life, but also in clients that I work with. And we'll do that in the workshop.
I can't imagine that there's anybody that isn't jumping up and down and saying, oh, please let me be at this workshop.
Well, if not, they must have it all figured out. And so exactly. We need to talk to them.
So as a non-pharmacist, which I got to say is pretty exciting. We need to hear from so many perspectives. You told us a little bit, but can you tell us a little bit more about who you are and how you kind of got to this point in your life and career?
Can I jump in here for a second?
Yeah.
So I was blessed to meet Cory at a business training group that we had. It was what, eight weeks maybe, Cory?
Yeah.
And he taught us about prioritizing our life, which will help prioritize our business. And it was really good as far as creating a wonderful culture that other team members want to come and work for and in, and that type of thing. So that's one of the reasons why Cory's on our docket this year, is that he made such a great impact in my life. And so I just wanted to mention that this is some of the stuff that you'll get to learn about while we're there in our 90 minutes together versus, I don't know, what was it, 4 hours a week for 8-9 weeks? It was
yeah, it was a long time. That's right.
But
that 5 years ago?
Oh gosh, maybe, yeah, something like that.
Time flies.
Holy cow, time flies. But I still remember the principles and that trying to get to that right upper quadrant, and then the 5 capitals, and then of course adding the Enneagram in for me is just icing on the cake. I'm imagining a lot of pharmacists may not have heard of that, but anyway, take it away, and I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So my journey, civil engineering by degree, had a career, started in Kansas City, then got promoted, moved to Denver, Colorado, and then promoted, moved to Cincinnati. Cincinnati, about 8 years ago, I was kind of in over my head at that moment. I was leading a $100 million division, managing my old boss, managing people older than me. I was working too much. I was finding my identity in the success or failure of my job, a little bit I talked about earlier. So I went to my boss to say, hey, I need help. I love your time. When we get time together, it's just never enough. He's like, get an executive coach. Like, well, I wish it was that easy. I mean, you would have told me this on day one. But I hired an executive coach, a guy by the name Brandon Schaefer, who helped create these 5 capitals. And he was my coach for 3 years because I took one other corporate position. So during that 3-year period, I was being coached and turning around and using all of the content with my direct reports, but also anyone I ran across because I was loving it. And, you know, my poor kids had to hear about all this. My neighbors had to hear about it because I was so excited to share with people. Then I started transition and go into this full time. That was about 5 years ago. I started dabble with it. That's when Sue and I met. And so I had a full-time job, but I was also doing some workshops and things on the side. And then 3 years ago, I took the risk of leaving my corporate job, which was, you know, high salary, the insurance, the company car, like all those pieces that probably some of you are relating to as you think your next step as the industry is changing, evolving. I took the leap and went from that into now this new role of coaching and sharing these principles with others. So that's my story. We live in Cincinnati, married for 20 years, and have 3 kids. So a 15-year-old girl, 11-year-old girl, and 7-year-old boy. So that's who we are. And they've been along for the ride. I'm sure being a child of an executive coach is a pain. Kids, what's your vision and values for today? What's going on?
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
Well, we can't wait to see you in April, and anxious to get this video out to everyone so they too can get really excited about this. So we'll see you soon.
Yes, and send any questions in advance that people may have so I can make sure it's as customized as possible.
I like that. We'll do it.
We'll send your email address along with the video to contact you.
Great.
Is that what you want, or do you want us to compile it and send it all at once?
What's that?
Or would you prefer that we compile the questions and send it all to you?
No, you can send them as they come.
Okay.
Whatever's easiest for you ladies, for sure.
We'll link people up. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cory.
Thank you.